listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the Talkstar Radio Network, and, of course, the Mutual Broadcast Network, and throughout Europe on Radio X. Send me your emails, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and you can listen to the X-Zone Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. until midnight, or the rest of the 24-hour clock when we feature the best of at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is LeeAnna Jonas, and we're going to be talking to LeeAnna, who is the founder of the Spirit Realm Investigative Project, also known as SRIP. And they're a bunch of paranormal ladies who are sensitive, seekers of the unknown, using methods of science, electronic equipment, and metaphysical practices of protection and beliefs. They're located in Denver, Colorado. They have investigated and continue to investigate historical sites within the mining towns of the Rocky Mountains. Now, they've been featured on many radio shows, the Travel Channel's Paranormal Challenge, the Bio Channel's My Ghost Story, and soon in Europe on True Ghost Stories. They've also been featured in America's Most Haunted, Chronicles of the Unexplained, Cowboys, Yogis, and One-Legged Ski Bums. Sounds like a name for a good pub. And they've also been featured in many local newspapers, online magazine, TV news in the Denver area as well. So joining me now is the head honcho, the head guru, the person in charge of the Spirit Realm Investigative Project, LeeAnna. LeeAnna, are you there?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for you to say my name wrong. It's Jonas. Everyone says Jones. But how you doing tonight, Rob?
Hey, I'm not doing too bad. So what in the name of heaven ever got you into doing what you're doing?
Well, I grew up outside Detroit. I'm a rock chick by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always into the sensitive side once I saw my first apparition when I was 10 years old. I used to hang out with one of my friends in her basement, and we were messing around with the Ouija board and doing seances. Yeah, that opened up a can of worms, and we were trying to drum up a woman who was in the papers. She committed suicide after she killed a baby that she was watching. She was a babysitter. And we just started trying to contact her, and lo and behold, all three of us girls looked up and saw the same thing. It was a clear as day, almost solid apparition of a woman in a rocking chair with a baby in her arms and a knife in her hand. We all saw that, and we went flying up the steps crying, and I never forgot it. I talked to one of the gals 30 years later that was with me, and she kind of blocked it out. She says, I know something happened, but I just don't remember because it was so traumatic. And I said, well, I haven't forgotten. And ever since then, I realized there's something more to the other side. There's something more than just us here on Earth. So I went from there, and it's been my quest ever since.
Tell me about the group of ladies that you have working with you, the Spirit Realm Investigative Project, or SRIP.
Well, we're three girls located right outside of Denver, and we're lucky enough to basically have our own mining town to ourselves called Central City up in the mountains. It was the richest square mile on Earth back in the day. As you know, they had mining accidents and bordellos, and a lot of children died of scarlet fever. So it's chock full of spirits, and that's where we started. And it's gotten to the point now where They know our names. We've had our names called on EVPs. They seem to show up. We use an ovulus, which projects whatever they're trying to say into words. It has a computer base. And, they just always seem to show up. Sometimes we have a couple, 3 or 4, that follow us to every investigation we've ever been at up there, and we've done about 50. So we're just really into the history aspect of it and trying to communicate. We also try to help them cross. We work with an angel reader, and we have crossed over a few children. So we not only try to help those that are being haunted, we help those spirits that are trapped. And if they ask for our help, if we get an EVP or something on the ovulus, we will continue to do so and try to help them cross.
Sounds like an exciting job that you have, but you and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Exonation, we're talking about ghosts, hauntings, things that go bump in the night in Colorado. My guest this hour is LeeAnna Jonas, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll both be back, so whatever you do, don't go away and don't play with any Ouija boards.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back, everyone. LeeAnna Jonas is our special guest. She is the founder and team leader of Spirit Realm Investigation Project, also known as SRIP. And their website is on their Facebook page at facebook.com/Spirit Realm Investigative Project. So tell me, LeeAnna, where is the most haunted place that you ladies have ever investigated?
Well, they're all pretty good at being equal. I would say probably the one that was the worst that we ever had as far as being attacked, which we never have had that previously, was at the Sawyer McShane building in Central City, Colorado. It used to be a warehouse for one of the minor, the general store. It was huge. It's like 10,000 square feet. And then Angelo Di Benedetto, who is a well-known artist here in Denver, had an art school there all through the 60s, 70s. I think he died when he was 92. Later we found out that he was into voodoo, that he used to go to Haiti a lot. And we were in there a couple times, but the second time we stirred something up by asking questions about Angelo being into the voodoo arts. And my one teammate, it was her second time investigating. She did not know how to put her walls up, and she has health issues with diabetes and such, and it took a hold of her. She was attacked 4 or 5 times. We tried to get her out as quick as possible, but we were on the 3rd floor and had to go down 2 more floors. It just basically went. She could feel its hand going into the backside of her back and squeezing her kidneys. It was to the point where she could hardly stand up. I was screaming at the entity to leave her alone. It was bad. It scared our cameraman, and I'll never forget it. And we're going to be doing a show called True Ghost Stories, which will be airing in Europe, hopefully in the fall, and one of our episodes will be of that actual investigation.
Why do you guys go out looking for trouble?
I don't. I try not to. That's why the first time that's ever happened to us, because we've never had that problem. We've always coexisted with the spirits. We have relationships with the spirits up there. They trust us. We trust them. That's why this was totally out of the ordinary for us. There was just something about her that this entity did not care for. It actually followed her home. It took us probably about 3 or 4 times with David Barnett, who is a medium very high up in the vibration area with the angels, to try and cleanse her and get rid of this entity. His name, I won't even say his name because he shows up at almost all of our investigations now. And she knows now how to protect herself. We do protection rituals, and we believe in the metaphysical and stones and oils. But, if they feed on fear, especially the nasty entities, they feed on fear, and she's learned how to protect herself with that. And when he shows up, his name shows up on the obulus, I just basically tell him to beat it. Get out of here. Leave us alone. We're not going to put up with this anymore. And he really hasn't bothered us much since.
When you ladies go out and do an investigation, what is the ultimate purpose? What is your goal?
Our goal is to help any spirits that need help. Our goal is to try to communicate with them if they feel trapped or they feel that they need to cross or they need to communicate, whatever they need to do, we're there for them. We're not into any dark arts. We're not into the dark side of this. It just so happened that at that investigation, we experienced some of it. But our goal is to help. We're not one of those teams that want to go out and just get evidence and then leave people high and dry with what we stirred up. Because let's face it, when they know that you can communicate with them, they'll take full advantage of it. And sometimes with families, when you go into their home, you can, open up the communication, and then you leave, and those 4 folks are there with all the activity still happening. So we try not to go into homes too much unless it's a case where somebody is being attacked or scratched, or there's some really bad issues with children being hurt. But for the most part, we really enjoy historical sites. We like to contact spirits from the past. Believe it or not, they exist, especially in the mining towns here in Colorado. So no, we don't look for trouble. We try not to. We are interested in communicating with the other side, and we do want to document it. We are into the scientific end of it also with the equipment. Let's face it, there's skeptics out there, and they don't believe you because they have to experience it themselves, but we still want to prove, if we can, with video or audio, and we don't put anything out unless we thoroughly believe that it's paranormal. We try to debunk it first before we put anything out on our behalf.
Why would somebody call a group of paranormal investigators for a haunting instead of going to the church, the clergy, the professionals?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of television nowadays. It's such a mainstream thing, with all the new shows that come out. Unfortunately, it might glorify it. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten calls from people that I believe are just faking it. They just want someone to come out. They want a story. They want to hopefully sell it to a show. I mean, that happens. That's why I make sure I always offer them to be able to talk to Dave Barnett, our cleanser, first, and then they never call him. And then I know they're just out just to have us come out and say they had someone at their house.
But I have to ask you, like you watch these shows on TV, they're anything but real, and they're sold as reality. If anything, it's poor entertainment. And everybody's doing the same thing. Nobody's doing anything different. Everybody's going for EVPs. Everybody's going for the video shots. Everybody's going for the green shot. Everybody's going for the night shot. Everybody's going for the sensationalism. What is so compelling about watching these shows?
I think people like to see the evidence, and I believe in old school investigating. I'll have to disagree with you on that as far as the mainstream shows that are out there, because right now they're trying the latest and greatest. In fact, last year it was huge. All the investigators in all the different cities, the teams were being called by a network that wanted to do naked investigating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's starting to become a joke because everyone's trying to outdo each other.
Well, that's what I was getting at, because as far as I know, there are very few mainstream networks that are touching this kind of product. Like you've got the off channels like TLN is going all paranormal. You're going to have 24-hour programming of paranormal shows, but you won't see any of these shows on any of the mainstream networks: ABC, Fox, Even Fox isn't revamping the X-Files because the ratings weren't as great as they thought they were.
Yeah, but if you do watch Fox Network, they do have a lot of supernatural. They have, say, like WGN and some of the other ones owned by Fox. They do the witch hunts in Salem, Massachusetts. They do vampires. They do, off-the-wall people that have supernatural abilities. It's far-fetched, but they do have the demographics for it, and a lot of the demographics.
But how long is this going to go on? Because people are going to say, what the heck? They never catch a ghost. It could be faked. They're talking about all this evidence, and it seems like you don't see hardcore scientists following out any of the leads that the investigators or the researchers are coming up with.
Well, they used to have a show that Fact or Fiction, and they would try to debunk some of this, the shows out there.
Right.
Now, take it for instance, Ghost Adventures out of the Travel Channel. That's been the #1 show for the Travel Channel for 11 years.
Yeah, but that's the Travel Channel.
Got something.
That's the Travel Channel.
Yeah, but the Travel Channel, believe it or not, in the States, most people watch cable over your networks. They do.
Why?
Because there's such a diversity in the cable business now. Yes, granted, when one show comes out, they all try to make their own.
Yep.
They all try to duplicate it. But it's all about ratings. It's all about what sells, what they can sell their advertisement for. We all know how the business works.
Sure.
And whatever's hot is hot. And I don't think the paranormal will ever die, because I think there's more people out there that have had their own experiences and know for a fact there is something on the other side and there's something more to this, that they're intrigued and they want to validate how they felt. Just like people who get abducted from aliens. Half the people are like, yeah, right, okay. If it happened to you, you're going to want to prove that. And if there's a show out there that, can show you some kind of proof to validate what you went through, you're going to watch it. There could be scores of people, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. And you know what? I would just like to see something concrete come out of one of these shows. Like,
do you ever watch?
No, I don't. I don't, because I find it so fake. I find it so phony. I've gone on the real McCoys, and there's nothing on any of these shows that even resembles what really happens when you do a full-fledged scientific investigation with real parapsychologists, with real scientists, using real scientific equipment that isn't bought over the internet.
I would like you to take an opportunity to check out, I don't know how you'd find which episode, but any one of the Ghost Adventure shows that have Bill Chappell. Bill Chappell is a scientist out of Loveland, Colorado, scientist and engineer, that builds scientific equipment. And this guy goes all out because he was a skeptic. I would love to invite you to see some of the stuff that he uses. I would love to. And he's not a faker. I've met the man in person. He builds all sorts of different gadgets. It's all based on what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think of the right word, because I've got to take my news break. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is LeeAnna Jonas, and she is the young lady behind Spirit Realm Investigative Project, also known as SRIP. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Are you a believer or are you a skeptic? Send me your emails, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. Our guest this hour is LeeAnna Jonas, and she is the Jonas. Did I say Jonas? There we go. Jonas.
You said Jonas.
Yeah. Well, it's Jon.
Okay, I'll give you that.
All right. Let's try that again. LeeAnna Jonas. There you go. See, I nearly said Jonas again. She is the team leader of Spirit Realm Investigative Project, also known as SRIP. Not STRIP. SRIP in Denver, Colorado. Okay, have you ever gone into a place that people have just been totally afraid to go into because of all the activity that you and your team have been able to clear and bring back to normal?
No, because the one place that we had issues with is on our My Ghost story. It was our investigative. And let me tell you this. They came to us and asked us what footage we had. So this wasn't something we did just for My Ghost story. It was an investigation we had already had, and we sent in like 3 different investigations, and they picked this one. And this particular one is on our website. It's the first post. It's only 7 minutes long because they chopped the heck out of it because they put 4 stories in 1 hour segment.
Mm-hmm.
But we were told not to go in there by our angel reader. She had already connected with this spirit. It was the Gilpin County Courthouse. She lives up there in Central City, and she had told us, don't go in there. Well, unfortunately, we decided to do so because we heard that there might have been some spirits that were wanting to cross. So we were conflicted, and we did go in, but we were told not to touch the spirits as far as helping them. We were told by the people that work there, those were their spirits, and don't attempt to cross them over or clear them. So I can't really say that we've cleared anything out and then gone back in. I mean, we might cross over one or 2 spirits, but we don't really cleanse a place totally because it's not our call. That's up to the spirits. If they contact us and say help, there may be a little girl there or something, but there are ones that even told us. I said, hey, do you need help? Do you want to cross? No. Plain, it came right out on the Ovilus, no. Or on EVP, no. I'm not not God, and that's their destiny. If that's the way that if they're comfortable where they are, who am I to make them go anywhere? So no, we're not bullies in that respect, and we don't claim to totally cleanse a place. We just try to do our best with the activity that's there. And sometimes we may go back in and that same entity's still there, like with the guy that follows us. I'm not going to say his name because he'd enjoy that. It's really weird because because I'm in this town so often, and because we frequent so many places and get to know, we see like a pattern with some of these spirits, you start to figure it out. So a lot of teams don't get to do that. They get to go to different places and they never come back. But we are lucky enough to frequent certain places, and some not, depending on the owners, if they allow us back in.
How do you get the spirit to cross if they want to cross?
We just call upon Archangel Michael. He's the Archangel of protection and light, and we just hold hands and we concentrate and put our energy into, as much as possible together as one, and ask Archangel Michael to guide them to the light and help them. And then we tell the spirits to look for the light in Archangel Michael. And I'm just learning how to do that. Our angel reader can actually see what's going on. She used to work with Doreen Virtue, and she's trained to do that. I'm not. I'm learning. So, with us doing it on our own, if we just happen to be there and someone needs help, we try our best, but we can't for sure say whether they've crossed or not unless we get something afterwards stating, like one time I don't know if you believe in attachments to like antiques or items, but they do say energy patterns can be stamped on certain items. We were in a museum and the Ovilus kept on going off, help, pendant. It's a long story, but we found the pendant. We tried to cross over the spirit, And afterwards we said, I hope she crossed. And the box said, girl, sent, gone, okay. So to us, that was validation that she crossed. We don't know for sure. We can only try. That's all. The best that we can do is try.
Have you or any of your team ever been attacked during an investigation? I mean, besides from the one that we were talking about earlier.
My one teammate, it's pretty funny because we were in this one place, and I had, at the time, I had a girl who was Wicca, and she was a medium, and she was Wicca, and she was yelling at this guy. He must have been a minor or something, and he was touching her in the wrong places, or maybe the right places, I don't know. But she told him to stop, and then I felt a rush of cold air zip past me, and my one teammate almost fell over. It went right through her, and was only 26, and she thought she was having a heart attack, and we had to stop the investigation and get her to lay down somewhere. She was sick the rest of the night. She couldn't function. Yeah. So, their physical energy, their energy, your energy when you're alive, your energy when you're dead, it doesn't dissipate. And that energy just affected her badly. So that can also be an attack, whether you want to, we think of it as a physical attack,
Sure.
But when they do come through you like that, yeah.
Why is it there are certain people who can see spirits or feel spirits, and there's other people, they have no inkling?
I just think it depends on how open you are to possibilities and how open your mind is. I mean, if you're a skeptic, you're not going to even if something happened to you, in your mind, you can't comprehend, so you're going to say, no, nothing's ever happened, nothing weird's happened.
Is it that you may not comprehend, or you're able to rationalize it?
Oh, that too. I think both.
Yeah.
And I find I'm a sensitive, I always have been, but my sensitivity has heightened and gotten stronger and stronger the more I do this. The more that, and I've been doing it since, nonstop since 2010, and the more I do it, the more I can feel and sense things. And the same with my one teammate. Her son passed away 2 years ago. He was killed. He got hit by a motorcycle. He was only 21, I believe, 2021. And after that, he started contacting her, and she started to hear spirits. And it was just right after that. So now she can actually hear them in her ear, in her right ear. They talk to her, and she can't see them too much. Once in a while, she can see an apparition, but her sensitivity is heightened also. And this is the gal that got attacked, but she's come a long ways. So it's like anything else. Practice, I can't say practice makes perfect, but we're practicing, you're learning, and I believe your talent or your sensitivity heightens the more that you do this.
How does one prepare to do what you do? This isn't something that everybody'd like to do. Mind you, and now a lot of people are thinking that it's a way that they can make some fast money and they can get their 15 minutes of fame. So as much as the TV shows are opening up the awareness, it's also creating a cult following on its own. It reminds me of the CB clubs going back into the late 60s, where everybody had to have a CB and a handle, and it phased out. What do you why do you think that the paranormal is here to stay?
Well, first off, I want to say there's no money to be had. I was on 2 shows. I made $80 on one show and $100 on another. Okay? So that's a myth. Unless you are Zach Beggins of Ghost Adventures that got his own, he gets to handle everything production-wise. He had it all put in the contract. He makes $100,000 an episode. He's about the only guy that makes money. I think that I just think that maybe people have always felt this way. People come up to me as soon as they find out what I do. I either get a weird look like, oh, you're into Satan, aren't you? Or, no, they do, honest to God.
Really?
Or they say, oh my gosh, really, that is so cool. Let me tell you this story.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, I used to live in this house and this happened. Oh, and my grandmother came to visit me. It seems like there are more people out there than you can imagine that have had actual experiences and never had anybody to talk to about it because they think you're crazy. But now, because it's socially acceptable in this day and age, on TV, on radio, in the media,
Mm-hmm.
people feel more comfortable, and they feel like they can confide in you or watch these shows and have friends, come over and watch. I know people that have like little parties, just like when they watch The Walking Dead. They have something in common. We believe in this. And I just think that it's starting to become more mainstream.
Is it becoming more mainstream, or is it becoming more of a cult? There's a big difference there.
No, I've never heard of anyone really getting into a cult unless it's somebody who's really into the dark side.
Well,
That's
no.
the
I
cult
don't mean that kind of cult. I don't mean that kind of cult. All right, a cult is
No,
a cult.
I know.
A cult is a group who fit in nowhere else in society. They find their niche and they all gather.
I don't know.
And this is.
I mean, you can have that with anything. That would be like a NASCAR fan, or somebody who's into scrapbooking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you'd have to say that's a cult also, because that's something that everyone enjoys and they have the same interest. So I just think that I don't really think that they set to go out and say, oh, I'm just going to go hang out with people who believe in the paranormal.
Right.
I don't see that. No, I don't see that. Although we do have events, but that's not like anything different either. I mean, anything that's popular has their little conventions,
Sure.
or their Comic-Cons or their Star Trek conventions, same
Mm-hmm.
thing. That's a cult. Star Trek fans are a cult.
Oh, I don't see any difference between a Star Trek fan and a ghost hunter. And let me ask you this. Why is it called ghost hunting? Because when you hunt something, you intend on capturing it or killing it. And as far as I know, a ghost is already dead.
Well, and I don't like the term ghost hunter because of that.
Okay.
I like paranormal investigator. That's what I go by.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they say ghost hunting is because you're not trying to hurt them, but you're trying to catch them evidence-wise. You're trying to catch an audio. You're trying to catch a video. You're just trying to capture. And I think that is the main word for that is associated with hunting, is capturing something. Even though you're not the Ghostbuster on the show back in the 70s, where you had that little thing that opened up and they sucked them in. But, yeah, no, I don't like ghost hunting. I don't like that phrase. I'm a paranormal investigator. I investigate. I use scientific equipment.
But what credentials? You call yourself an investigator, all right?
Yeah.
There are men and women who are real investigators. They do this as a profession. They go to school to learn how to be an investigator. Police investigators, law enforcement investigators, they're real investigators. How can a ghost hunter or somebody who has a hobby of chasing spooks call themselves an investigator?
How can you say that you are certified as an investigator on the unknown? You can't.
That's right.
How can you say you go to school to learn something that is unknown? You
Well,
can't.
yes, you
So
can.
when
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because when I went through the law enforcement academy, and when I took further courses on how to become a criminal investigator, we were anticipating, and we were being taught how to investigate certain things that had not happened yet, but how to collect the evidence to prepare the
Right.
case for a subsequent arrest. So,
No, it's a lot. It's the same thing, but then you had forensics to back you up too. I mean, you couldn't just go into a courtroom and say, "Okay, Joe Blow shot this gun. Oh, we have to check the shell of that gun and make sure it
Well, of
matches
course.
up with."
of
Right,
course.
but you can't do. How can you do that in ghost? When you paranormal investigate, you're investigating the unknown. You're trying to produce, and I wouldn't say even produce. You're trying to capture evidence scientifically on these instruments, but it's not set in stone like shooting a gun and matching that shell to that gun. That's an undeniable science there. What we do is you can't say it's for certain because nobody knows for sure.
All right, let me ask you this.
See where I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do, and and you know what? That's an excellent comeback. But here comes the but. Okay? If paranormal investigators are able to communicate with the dead, is it possible that cold cases of criminal activity and homicide could be solved by getting the answers to homicides through spirits?
Well, you use that already. Some of police departments use mediums, but they use mediums to help them guide them through the case to try to find the evidence they need to use against someone who has killed a murderer or what have you. They can say, okay, in my vision here, I see down by the lake, there's a body buried here, and this person did this. And you guys go there, and there's the body. Okay, they led you to that evidence, but that still is not going to help you solidly prove that person killed that unless you use your investigating with precise evidence of a gun or a weapon or something or DNA of blood from the murderer to the person that they killed.
Let me ask you something. Okay, we've got to take a break here, but here's some food for thought for you when we come back.
Okay.
Can the evidence of the paranormal be used in a court of law? I'll let you chew on that for a minute. We'll be back on the other side of this break. As we continue here this hour in the X-Zone with our guest this hour, LeeAnna Jonas, who is the lady who is behind Spirit Realm Investigative Project, also known as SRIP. You can find her on Facebook /Spirit Realm Investigative Project. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
LeeAnna Jonas is our guest of this hour, X-Zone Nation. She is the founder and team leader of Spirit Realm Investigative Project, also known as SRIP. They are in Denver, Colorado, and you can be found on Facebook /Spirit Realm Investigative Project. All right, LeeAnna, do you think any evidence that the paranormal investigators to date have documented could be used in court to prove in the preponderance of evidence that the paranormal does exist, that ghosts do exist, demons do exist?
I believe that evidence does exist, but whether it would be viable to use that as evidence to put someone away in a court case or murder case.
No. I'm not talking about putting somebody away. No, I understand that evidence doesn't exist, but I'm talking about in a civil case where you just need to tilt the balance of evidence in the favor of either the defendant or the plaintiff. Do you think that there is enough evidence that would go before a court that would be strong enough to prove to a judge that the paranormal is real?
That the paranormal is real, yes. I think it would be laughed off because it's not accepted that in the mainstream totally. I've seen good evidence myself that things have happened, and I, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I believe. But you're dealing with not everyone believes. You're always going to have people that are going to not side with you, that are going to argue the facts. So no, I've seen stuff, yes, but whether it would ever hold up or can be used, no, I don't think that'll ever happen.
So,
I don't think any of us are going to know for sure until we're gone what really happens, and then we're gone. So what can we do about it?
Exactly. You're here for a good time,
Right.
not for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your final message tonight for the X-Zone Nation? What would you like to tell them?
Well, first of all, I would like to educate a lot of the young folks out there that want to get into this. I think that they're very impressionable and they see everything on television, and I try to advocate. I go to libraries and school functions, and I try to teach the kids the danger. It's not all fun and games. There is negativity out there. There is, I believe, demonic entities out there. There is nasty stuff out there. And somebody who probably isn't over 21 is very susceptible. They're
Really?
very open, and yeah. And I just don't believe in kids going on events and ghost hunts. I think that they can wait until they're older. But I think it's just been so glorified that there's so many young kids out there that want to try. And once you get that one bad attachment with you, it's not so easy to get rid of, if ever.
And
So
you
there
know
is
that from experience with
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, not only that, but you and your two other girlfriends with your Ouija board going way back in Detroit,
Yeah, and I was only 10. So,
My
I mean,
God.
what do you tell a 10-year-old that sees something like that? It's with you for the rest of your life. So,
Exactly.
Yes.
Listen, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Continued success, and I hope that I have the pleasure of meeting you one day and sharing some of your paranormal stories with us again.
Sounds great, Rob.
You take care of yourself now.
All right,
Exonation,
thank
my
you.
guest this hour has been LeeAnna Jonas, and I don't know. I really don't know. Like, she's convinced. She's a believer. I want to believe, but I want proof. Am I asking for too much? I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.